Have you ever noticed how some people act differently toward you the moment you stop letting them boss you around? But wait, what if I told you that when people can't boss you, they try something else instead? They don't just leave you alone. Instead, they switch their plan, making you feel bad, starting rumors, twisting what you say, anything to make you unsure of yourself. Yes, I'm talking about those sneaky mind games you don't even catch at first. While you think you're just living your life, they're quietly trying to pull you back under their thumb. An old way of thinking called Stoic philosophy says real strength isn't about controlling others. It's about not letting them control you. But let me ask you this. Are you really free, or are you still falling for their tricks without knowing it? Maybe it's time to break loose for good. Stick around until the end, because the last one is the sneakiest of all. But before we jump in, listen to this story. It'll help you get the smart ideas in this stuff. The story of Adam. Adam was a guy who did things his own way. He never let others tell him what to do, and that bugged some people. At work, his boss couldn't scare him. With friends, he didn't give in to pushy stuff. Even with family, he set rules that others didn't like. He thought this would make people respect him, but instead, something weird happened. People who used to cheer him on started putting him down. Friends who liked how brave he was began calling him selfish. Coworkers who counted on him started making up stories about him. Confused and annoyed, Adam went to see an old teacher, Mr. Carter, a retired guy who'd run a business and was known for being wise. "Why is it," Adam asked, "that when I don't let people control me, they turn against me?" Mr. Carter laughed a little and took Adam to his backyard. There were two horses, one tied to a pole, the other walking around free. "Watch this," Mr. Carter said. He went up to the tied horse, and it stayed calm. But when he got close to the free horse, it stepped back, careful and wide awake. "See that?" Mr. Carter said. "People are the same. When they can tie you up, they feel safe. But when you're free, they get nervous because they can't guess what you'll do or make you do what they want." Adam scrunched his face. "So what do they do about it?" Mr. Carter let out a breath. "They don't try to set you free. Instead, they try to break you down. They'll call you stubborn, selfish, stuck up. They'll twist your freedom into something bad. Not because you're wrong, but because you being free reminds them they're stuck." That night, Adam finally got it. People weren't mad at him because he was bad. They were mad because they couldn't run his life. So, he stopped trying to explain himself, stopped looking for their okay, stopped letting guilt decide for him. And in that quiet, something strong happened. The tricky people, they left. The weak ones, they disappeared. And the really solid ones, they stuck around because real strength likes strength. Before we start the first lesson, if you think these videos are helpful, I'd love it if you hit subscribe and turn on the bell to know when new stuff's up. Let's get going. Number 1, they try to trick you. Let's talk about what happens when people figure out they can't boss you around. They start playing tricks. Some people love being in charge. They want to tell you what to do, change your choices, and shape how you act to fit what they want. But when they see you stand on your own, that you don't give in easy, they don't quit. They just change how they do it. Instead of bossing you straight out, they use sneaky tricks, messing with your feelings to make you feel bad, like you owe them, or push to go along. Here's the truth. When someone can't boss you directly, they try to sneak their way in. They'll make you feel guilty. "After all I've done, this is how you act?" Or sweet talk you. "You're so good at this. I'd be lost without you." If that doesn't work, they make it sound urgent or act hurt. Anything to make you feel like their feelings are your job. It's never about respecting you. It's about keeping you under their thumb without you noticing. And here's where that Stoic smart stuff comes in. A guy named Lao once said, "Someone who bosses others might be strong, but someone who's got themselves figured out is even stronger." That's the big idea, being in charge of yourself. Real strength isn't about running others. It's about running you. Tricky people love it when you react with feelings, guilt, doubt, or worry. The second you see their game and say no to playing, you take their power away. Think of it like a board game with checkers. Tricking you is like playing checkers. Every move they make is to get you to jump. They set little traps, hope you freak out, and want you to land right where they planned. But what if you don't jump? If you stay chill, watch, and don't move how they expect, they're stuck. The best way to beat their tricks isn't to fight back. It's to stop playing their game altogether. I remember dealing with someone who always turned things to help themselves. One day, they asked me for something I didn't want to do. I said no nicely, but instead of being cool with it, they sighed and said, "Wow, I thought we were closer than that." Right then, I felt it. The guilt sneaking in, the need to explain myself. But I stopped. Instead of saying why, I just smiled and said, "I know what you're trying." That one line flipped everything. Their face changed. They knew I caught them. They mumbled, tried to laugh it off, but I didn't keep going. That was the last time they tried tricking me. And that's the thing. When you spot their tricks, they don't work anymore. So, how do you handle people like this? First, figure out their moves. If someone's making you feel guilty, pushed, or like you owe them, stop and think, is this just a masking or is it a trick? Second, stay cool and steady. The calmer you answer, the less they can push you around. And last, don't play along. You don't have to argue, explain, or prove yourself. Just say no and keep moving. At the end of the day, tricks only work if you bite. The minute you stop reacting, stop explaining, and stop feeling like their emotions are your problem, they lose their hold. Be your own boss, stand tall, and remember, what you choose is up to you alone. Music. Number 2, they spread lies about you. Let's dig into one of the meanest moves people pull when they can't control you. They make up stories. Instead of facing you straight up, they invent fake stuff, twist what's real, and try to get others to turn on you. Why? Because they know they can't trick you, so they go after how people see you. It's not about what's true, it's about staying in charge. Here's the deal. Made-up stories are what weak people use. When they don't have facts, they lean on gossip, big exaggerations, and straight-up lies. They want you to freak out, defend yourself, get worried, because if you do, they win. They've got you hooked into their mess. But here's the real truth. The strong thing is not freaking out. Think of it like someone throwing dirt at you. Imagine a kid tossing mud your way. If you swing back, you just get muddy too. But if you stand there, let it dry, and shake it off, you walk away clean. That's how lies work. The more you fight them, the messier it gets. But if you hold your ground, the lies fade away by themselves. And this is where that Stoic smart stuff helps. A guy named Marcus Aurelius said, "If you don't let words bug you, you've already won." Think about that. Staying quiet is your win. The second you stop caring what people say, you take their power away, because truth doesn't need you to fight for it. It shows itself. I remember when someone spread fake stories about me on purpose. At first, I wanted to fix it to call out every lie. But then I stopped. Instead of jumping in, I focused on being me, letting what I do show what's real. And guess what? The lies stopped matching. The more I ignored them, the more people saw the truth. And the one who made them up, they ended up showing who they really were, because lies don't last long, but truth sticks around forever. So, how do you deal with people like this? First, don't jump in. The minute you argue, you make their lies stronger. Second, let how you act talk for you. Truth doesn't need you to back it up. It proves itself over time. And last, remember that people who lie show more about themselves than you. In the end, empty words don't mean anything unless you pay attention to them. So, stand strong, stay quiet, and watch the truth come out, because liars always lose eventually. Number 3, they act like they're hurt. Let's talk about one of the sneakiest moves people use when they can't run your life. They pretend to be the victim. Instead of owning up to what they did, they flip it around, act like you hurt them, and look for people to feel sorry for them. Why? Because if they can't boss you directly, they'll boss how others think of you. Here's the deal. Pretending to be hurt isn't about fairness. It's about dodging blame. These people twist things, make stuff sound bigger, and act helpless, all to get support and pity. And the more you try to explain or stick up for yourself, the worse it looks, because now you seem like the bad guy while they soak up all the poor me vibes. Imagine someone putting on a big show, acting all innocent while making you look mean. If you step up and argue, you're part of their play. But if you don't play along, people eventually see what's real. People who fake being hurt count on you reacting. Don't give them that. And this is where that Stoic smart stuff comes in. A guy named Epictetus said, "A smart person doesn't let others mess with their feelings." That's the key, keeping your feelings in check. The second you let their act get to you, they win. But if you stay chill, step back, and let time show what's true, you take their power away. I remember dealing with someone who always acted hurt whenever I called them out. One day, after they kept crossing a line, I finally said something. Instead of saying sorry, they acted shocked, told everyone I attacked them, and suddenly I was the jerk. At first, I wanted to tell my side, to prove I was right. But then I stopped. I let what I do speak for me. I didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't fall for their act. And guess what? People started figuring out the truth on their own. Because no matter how much someone pretends to be hurt, lies fall apart, and who you really are shines through. So, how do you handle people like this? First, don't get sucked in. Arguing just makes you look bad in their story. Second, let their actions show who they are. The more they fake it, the easier it gets to spot. And last, save your energy. You don't have to prove anything. Truth finds a way to show up by itself. In the end, people who use fake hurt as a trick only win if you give them attention. The best move? Stay chill, stay quiet, and let what's real do the talking, because truth always beats a fake show in the end. If you like this, hit like and subscribe for more cool ideas. Number 4, they try to cut you off. Let's look at one of the sneakiest plans people use when they can't control you. They try to leave you alone. Instead of facing you head on, they go behind your back, planting doubts, twisting stuff, and turning your friends, coworkers, or even family against you. Why? Because they're scared of you standing on your own. If you've got good people around you, they can't mess with you. So, their goal is simple: split you from others and make you feel lonely. Here's the truth. Cutting you off is what weak people do. People who love being in charge hate it when you think for yourself. So, they start rumors, make fights, and quietly push people away from you. They want you to wonder who you can trust, question if you're worth anything, and end up needing them. The lonelier you feel, the easier you're to push around. Think of it like wolves in the woods. They pick one animal away from the group before they attack. Why? Because something alone is easier to take down. People who trick you do the same. They don't come at you when you've got strong friends. Instead, they stir up trouble, stress, and mix-ups to pull you away from your support. But when you see this, you can beat them at their own game. And this is where that Stoic smart stuff helps. A guy named Seneca said, "Hang out only with people who make you better. Stay away from ones who drag you down." That's the big idea. Stick with people who build you up, not ones who tear things apart and trick you. Real friends and helpers will see through the lies eventually, and the ones who ditch you, they were never supposed to stay. I once knew someone who slowly tried to turn people against me. It started small, little comments like, "I'm not sure you could trust them." Then came the big twists, messing with what I said. At first, I was mad, ready to call them out. But then I realized fighting back just gave them more power. So instead, I worked on keeping my real friends close. I stayed steady, let how I act speak louder than their words, and guess what? Over time, people saw what was true. The ones who mattered stayed. The ones who believed the lies, they were never really mine anyway. So, how do you deal with people like this? First, keep your cool. The more you freak out, the more you help them. Second, hold on to your real friends. People who know you won't fall for lies forever. And last, don't chase after people who leave. If someone's quick to turn on you, let them go. In the end, people who don't like you being free will try to cut you off, but they can't break what's solid. Stay strong, stay with your crew, and remember, real friendships don't fall apart because of someone else's lies. Number 5, they mess with your confidence. Let's talk about a quiet but risky move people use when they can't boss you. They try to make you doubt yourself. They don't attack you straight out, but they drop little hints of worry. They question what you decide, make you rethink yourself, and quietly chip away at what you're good at. Why? Because if they can get you to second guess, they get power over you again. Here's the deal. People who poke at your confidence aren't trying to help or give good advice. They're testing how much you believe in yourself. They want you to freeze, to look for their thumbs up, to feel shaky about your choices, because the less sure you are, the easier you are to steer. Imagine it like a shaky bridge. Picture yourself walking across a bridge. It looks solid, but someone nearby keeps saying, "You sure that bridge won't fall? What if it breaks?" At first, you're good, but the more they talk, the more you start wondering. Not because the bridge is bad, but because they've got you doubting. That's exactly how confidence works. Your decisions are solid, but tricky people shake them up on purpose. The trick is to see what they're up to and keep going. And this is where that Stoic smart stuff comes in. A guy named Epictetus said, "What you're worth doesn't come from what others think." Real confidence isn't about people agreeing with you. It's about trusting yourself. The minute you stop needing their okay and stick to your choices, you're unstoppable. I remember someone who kept doubting what I did. Every time I picked something, they'd raise an eyebrow. "You sure? That sounds risky." At first, I'd explain, try to show I was right. But then I saw they weren't doubting me because they knew better. They just wanted me unsure. So one day, I stopped explaining. I just said, "Yeah, I'm sure." That's it. No big defense, no back and forth. And guess what? They had nothing to say because confidence doesn't need to argue. It just stands there. So, how do you handle people like this? First, trust yourself. If you pick something based on what makes sense and what you know, don't let their doubts shake you. Second, stop explaining too much. The more you defend yourself, the more they'll poke at your confidence. And last, remember doubt is their trick, not your truth. Just because someone questions you doesn't mean you're wrong. In the end, your confidence is your strength. People will test it, poke it, and try to weaken it, but only if you let them. Stand tall, believe in yourself, and don't let their doubts turn into yours. Number 6, they try to get you mad. Let's dive into one of the oldest plays in the book, getting you worked up. When someone realizes they can't push you around with logic or tricks, they start poking at your buttons. They say stuff meant to annoy, insult, or tick you off. Not because they care about fighting, but because they want you to lose it. Once you get mad, they've got you. Here's the truth. They want you to blow up so they can look better. They'll throw out jabs that tease, put you down, or mix up your words just to get you going. The second you lose your cool, they'll turn it around and say, "See, I told you they're crazy." Suddenly, you're the bad one, and they walk off acting all innocent. Think of it like wind and a campfire. Picture your feelings as the fire, and they're the breeze. The more you react, the bigger the flames get. But what happens if you don't add wood? The fire dies down. That's why staying chill is your best move. If they can't get you to flip out, they've got nothing to use. And this is where that Stoic smart stuff helps. A guy named Marcus Aurelius said, "The best way to get back at someone is not to act like them." That's the point. Don't do what they expect. When you stay calm, even when they're poking you, you take their power away. You stay in charge, and they leave annoyed instead of winning. I remember someone trying to drag me into a fight. They threw shade, blew stuff up, even brought up old mess-ups just to get me mad. I could feel it building, but instead of snapping, I smiled and said, "Cool opinion." That's it. No big comeback, no excuses. And guess what? They froze. They didn't know what to do because they wanted me to explode. That's when I learned staying chill isn't weak, it's strong. So, how do you deal with people like this? First, see the game. If someone's obviously trying to tick you off, stop and think, are they after a real talk or just trying to get me mad? Second, control how you answer. If you feel yourself heating up, take a breath before you say anything. And last, skip the pointless fights. Not every argument's worth it, and some wins come from walking away. In the end, your feelings are yours. If someone tries to rile you up, stay cool, step back, and let them wear themselves out, because the strongest one around is always the one who won't be pushed. If you watched this far, drop a thank God in the comments and hit like if you liked it. Your support means a ton and keeps me making more fun videos. I hope you get pumped up by them, and we keep figuring stuff out together. Thanks for sticking with me. Number 7, they copy you. Let's break down something that's both annoying and eye-opening. When people start copying you. At first, it might seem random. You make a big move, they do something close to it. You share a new idea. They act like they thought of it first. Then you get it. They're not fighting you anymore. They're copying you. Here's the deal. If they can't beat you, they try to be you. Instead of finding their own way, they follow yours, hoping to grab your wins without the work. But here's the catch. No matter how much they copy, they're always a bit behind. Copying might trick people for a minute, but it can't take the place of being real. Think of it like the sun and a shadow. A shadow moves when the sun does, but it can't make its own light. That's what copying is, a dull version of something bright. No matter how much they try to be like you, they can't copy what makes you special. And this is where that Stoic smart stuff comes in. A guy named Seneca said, "Who you are, not copying, makes you you. Your real value isn't in what you do, it's in who you are inside." Someone can copy how you talk, how you act, even your ideas, but they can't copy your brain, your life, or what's real about you. I remember someone who copied almost everything I did. Every time I got ahead, they do the same steps. If I tried something new, they'd suddenly care about it too. At first, it bugged me. It felt like they were stealing my stuff. But then I noticed something. The more they copied, the clearer it was they had nothing of their own. One day I mixed things up, changed how I did stuff completely, and guess what? They were lost, because when you're always copying, you're never in front. That's why I figured out copying just shows you're ahead. So, how do you handle people like this? First, don't sweat them. Them copying means they're already behind you. Second, keep growing. The more you change, the harder it is for them to catch up. And last, remember copying isn't a compliment. It's them being unsure of themselves. They copy because they don't have the guts to be them. In the end, copies fade out, but being real lasts forever. Keep being you, keep leading, and let the copycat scramble to keep up, because no one can take what makes you one of a kind. Number 8, they wait for you to mess up. Let's talk about a tough truth. Some people don't cheer for you. They just act like it. They smile at you, nod when you talk about your dreams, and even say, "I'm happy for you." But inside, they're waiting not for you to win, but for you to flop. Because you doing well bugs them. And if they can't outdo you, they'd rather see you crash. Here's the deal. Some aren't on your team. They're keeping score. They don't clap because they believe in you. They clap because they're waiting for you to slip. And when you do, they'll be the first to whisper, "Told you so." But here's where they're wrong. Real winning doesn't need their okay. Think of it like a tree in a storm. A wobbly tree bends when the wind hits hard, but one with deep roots, it stands strong no matter how wild it gets. People hoping you mess up are like the wind. They're loud, they push you, but they can't knock you down unless you let them. The tougher your roots, the less what they think matters. And this is where that Stoic smart stuff helps. A guy named Epictetus said, "Don't waste your time on people who want you to fail. Focus on getting better, not proving them wrong." Winning isn't about showing them up. It's about being your best you. I once had someone who seemed like they were on my side but kept dropping little hints. "You sure this will work?" Or, "Hope it goes okay, but we'll see." At first, I ignored it, but after a while, I saw they weren't rooting for me. They were waiting for me to trip. And one time, when I hit a bump, they were too fast to say, "See, I knew it'd be hard." That's when I knew they never had my back. They were just waiting to say they were right. So, I stopped explaining, stopped caring what they thought, and focused on my path. The result? I made it, and their quiet said more than their fake cheers ever did. So, how do you deal with people like this? First, spot the clues. If someone's only around when you're down, but gone when you're up, that's a hint. Second, stop trying to prove yourself. Your wins are for you, not them. And last, let winning be your answer. Keep going, keep getting better, because nothing bugs them more than seeing you rise when they thought you'd fall. In the end, some people watch for you to mess up like it's a game. Don't let them win. Shine anyway. Take off.